How do you guys talk to your families? And Sienna, you have an almost 10-year-old daughter, about tabloid culture. Is there anyone that she loves following in the news and media?
I mean, she's nearly 10. She's not allowed social media. So the word tabloid, I don't think has really come up. I think because to me, it's a really dirty word. There are other filthy words we do allow to come up, but that's not one of them. She loves Taylor Swift. She loves Doja Cat. She loves Dua Lipa. She loves Justin Bieber. You know, she's your typical kid growing up in New York City. I like to play the Beatles and, the Smiths and try to educate her in other ways, but very little control over my child.
And she's a Swiftie. I love to hear that.
Yeah, total Swiftie.
It meant nothing. It was just sex.
Nothing's just sex. There's more.
This show was such a juicy and very easy bingeable watch. Why do you guys think people are so enthralled with Scandal?
I think that there's something about these stories, when things happen and there are these twists and turns and shifts that you don't see coming, and the characters are probably not who you think they're going to be. And I just think that 6-part format is so fantastic.
I think people love looking underneath the hood of a what seems like a very shiny car and seeing how the engine really works. And when you see what might look on the outside like the perfect family, with the beautiful kids and the beautiful wife and the house and everything, and then you sort of look underneath and see that all is not as it seems, it leads people to feel like, oh, okay, there's secrets and lies here and there's intrigue.
Right, they're not as perfect as they seem.
Nobody is.
Nobody is.
Won't your wife be wondering where you are?
She trusts me.
Why was this a story that you guys wanted to tell? Rupert, I read that you turned this down twice, actually.
Yes, I wasn't very enamored of the idea of playing somebody who is accused of doing the thing that this guy is accused of doing. But more than that, it wasn't a world that attracted me or intrigued me. It's not something I've ever been particularly interested in, politics, and nor have I been particularly interested in the kind of very, very wealthy, privileged elite. So I had to be talked into it, and I'm very glad I did.
Oh, good. And Sienna?
I sort of thought that maybe there wasn't enough of a character there. I often play somebody with an accent or somebody very far removed from my experience of life, but I'm very rarely English. I was suddenly excited by the idea of doing that and being back in London. And I realized that Sophie's so contained and she's so stoic. And there's this real type of British woman that really plays their cards close to their chest and doesn't react. And that's how she's been raised. And that was incredibly challenging. It became so deep. The themes that it discusses are riveting and very current, privilege and entitlement and consent. These are really at the headlines of what I'm thinking about, what the world is talking about. So it's a good moment for a show like this.
The story's about to break.
Sometimes I think I'm partly to blame.
You have acknowledged that playing Sophie felt close to home in a lot of ways. Did that at all deter you from doing this? Or in a way, was it therapeutic?
There were circumstances that were familiar when I read the script, and I did question whether I wanted to be in that environment, the feeling of knowing that a story is going to come out and there's nothing you can do to stop it, and how is that going to be when your intensely personal information is made public. It wasn't pleasant to sit back in that space, but at the same time, I was playing a character experiencing something that may have been close to home, but her response is very different. In a way, it was reclaiming a narrative or rewriting a memory, or perhaps there's catharsis in that, but we're very different people.
We'd like to ask you a few questions.
There's been an accusation.
You did mention, all the themes that the show explores: sexual assault, privilege, entitlement. What do you hope audiences feel at the end of this?
I hope it's not cut and dried. I think that we're all excited by the idea that this would be a conversation starter rather than a sort of lecture with a conclusion at the end. It's much more the idea that we're looking at something which is very nuanced. It takes courage to explore it in real life. If we were making a piece about a monstrous guy who got away with something, that would be a completely different show and not what we set out to do. We wanted to make something which felt nuanced and layered and gave people pause for thought.
And I think that James's character is convinced of his innocence. I think that some people will watch the show and and feel a certain way and others another way, and hopefully that will inspire some really healthy debate and argument.
Did you guys model James and Sophie off anyone in the political world, or how did you kind of research to get into their mindsets?
I sort of tried to watch interviews with wives of politicians, and I was hoping to find someone I can really attach this character to. I was not particularly successful in that. I mean, there are certain mannerisms and the sort of standing beside someone in a press conference that I paid attention to.
Thank you for watching. If you want more extra, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you'll never miss a video.